All right, so here we are. We're back again on the Fantasy Football Podcast. A little different tone this week. I'm going to address primarily the big issue, of the week, which concerns myself. So, as I've stated on the podcast before, I never intend for this podcast to become about me or to become a platform for me to talk about my team. However, I feel like it is slightly justified this week. And so, I'm going to talk a little bit about the ruling that the council passed down. Our illustrious three-man council passed down that affects me and my team. First, I want to share with you the email that I had written to them in my defense. So it goes, it starts this way. I got a red light ticket in the mail today. It's a $100 ticket for not coming to a complete stop while turning right on a red on a deserted road in Worth, Illinois. I endangered no one, drove the same way I would drive anywhere, and yet I'm getting penalized for it. I mention this because it sums up how I feel about Krause's torrid allegations, hurtful attacks. As we all do every week, I use the CBS Fantasy Football interface to arrange my team. The confusing nature of that interface and how it corresponds to our jumbled roster rules have led us here. Earlier in the season, when Shane Vereen got hurt, I wanted to put him on the newly voted upon IR spot. During the weenie talks, we never addressed the IR designated to return rule, so of course, I didn't figure there was a difference and went to put him in the IR slot. I could not at the time, emailed the league, and that's when this three-man council was formed. Though it was made quite clear that I had to drop Shane Vereen, we never reached a conclusive decision on what was to be done with the rosters and the website. At the time, John Krause, my accuser, wrote, "Since this is so rare and has yet to actually happen, I think we're better off tracking it manually. It's much more likely that creating this spot will do more harm than good. People could inadvertently use it incorrectly." That was a good idea, Krause. It didn't happen. A few weeks later, I set up my fab bids in descending order to pick up one of three players, and was shocked when I woke up the next morning to find that CBS had given me all three players, made my roster illegal, and took all of my fab bids. I have set up my fab bids this way for 3 years. It's never happened before. I was not refunded my fab money, even after making my request public and releasing the offending players. Finally, I picked up Andre Brown 2 weeks ago. I did this with zero intention of placing him on IR, yet as soon as I had him on my roster and selected him, the IR spot became available. I should have emailed out the league and asked why this happened, received further clarification on our rules and how they correspond to the CBS website, despite the fact that we have had over a month's time to clarify those rules. I didn't know why that spot was there for Andre Brown when it wasn't there for Shane Vereen. In a meaningless move to me at the time, I moved Brown to the IR spot to test it out. I then received a notification from the site that I had an empty bench spot, so I picked up an additional player. None of these players factored into my lineup or my victories over Smith and Krause, which were both by wide margins. In summation, I regret not being more open about my questions regarding our very confusing rules and how they manifest themselves on our site. I wrongly assumed that whoever maintained control over the website had everything in place and didn't leave things in a state of limbo. I figured anything that the website would allow me to do was legal. I figured if the IR spot was open on the site, then I could use it. I apologize for my oversight and will ensure that it doesn't happen again. So that was my my email that I wrote to the council. This was pre-ruling, so that was my pleading. That was my defense. Obviously, the ruling has come out. I've been docked $15 fab dollars. I've had to drop both Andre Brown and Kendall Hunter, who I was planning on starting this week and now may not be able to. And additionally, I'm being sanctioned, and I essentially am losing scholarships. I'm losing bench spots. So, now after this ruling comes out and I've complied, I do want to share my opinion. I will do so now. So my opinion is that this ruling is fucking horseshit. I say fix the fucking site, you idiots. Any single one of you would have done the same thing I did when that IR spot came open. Take away the fucking IR spot altogether. How about that? Just like Krause said early in the process, it could be misused. Furthermore, if I should have learned so well while dealing with Shane Vereen, then why the fuck didn't you learn and update the website then? And furthermore, give me back my fucking $3 fab dollars. It was taken from me unjustly by our stupid, broken waiver system and never returned. So I can appreciate that my Week 7 performance was left unedited, as it should be, because the players and roster spots in question in no way factored into the final result. But I'm not pleased with it. I don't like the ruling. And furthermore, I want my fab money back. So, in light of that, instead of doing the normal CA league power rankings, as is tradition, this week I'll be presenting the power rankings of bullshit. Coming in at number 6 on the power rankings of bullshit, CBS Sportsline. The website is dog shit. We have to pay to use it, which is the ultimate fuck you. The format has always been strange and confusing. Whenever you tell anyone that we use CBS, they laugh in your face. The coverage is a joke. Dave Richard and Nathan Zagura are commie Nazis. I don't read any of their bullshit. And now the confusing interface has finally fucked me over. Total bullshit. Let's switch to Yahoo, NFL.com, or Bing. I don't give a shit. Anything but CBS. Coming in at number 5 on the power rankings of bullshit is the NFL IR versus the NFL IR designated to return. Speaking about the shittiness of our website, let's discuss specifically the IR slot. In the offseason, we voted that an IR spot would be available for players on the NFL IR. No elaboration was made, and the rule was put into our Constitution. Then, all the bullshit went down with Shane Vereen, and we argued about it. However, nothing was done with the stupid IR slot. It just sat there. I'll read verbatim from the ruling against me. It was acknowledged that there was a potential for it to be misused in this way. It is the responsibility of the individual to ensure that their team stays within the bounds of the rules. What the hell is that? What was the benefit of leaving it there? We stood nothing to gain by leaving that IR slot there if we couldn't use it. It was up to the individual. Only bad things could happen. It's like leaving a knife in a baby's crib and just saying, well, it's up to the child not to misuse it and cut his fucking throat. Who in their right mind is going to keep a player who spent the entire year on the NFL's IR? If a player is out for the whole season, it doesn't matter how cheap they are. No one's going to keep them. If anything, this IR spot should be used exclusively for players on the IR designated to return list, because that way you can hold on to a player that you've invested in and who might be back to help you later in that season. So I say fuck the stupid IR. We should put the IR on the IR. Coming in at number 4 on the power rankings of bullshit is $3 my $3 this year, I spent $57 on players, traded away $20 in the Marshawn Lynch trade. I got fined $15 and I had $3 fucking stolen from me by whoever fucked up our waiver system. For 3 years, I've arranged my waivers in descending order, as much as we all have, and have always gotten the player I wanted for the appropriate dollar amount. If I was outbid for a certain player, then I would just get my next lowest guy. Instead, I got the whole group, lost $3, very publicly asked for it to be returned, and never got it. So I want it back, goddammit. That $3 could buy me Leonard Hankerson as a bye-week fill-in, and I'll be damned if I don't get my hanky. Coming in at number 3 on the power rankings of bullshit, Andre Brown. If all this craziness had been over Marshawn Lynch or Aaron Rodgers, then I could get why people would be so perturbed. But this was all over Andre Brown. This is a dumb motherfucker from Baltimore who, just because he can run faster than Prop Joe, has made his way to the NFL. He's been on 5 different NFL teams. He was cut by the Giants earlier in his career. He's rushed for 384 yards in his career. So fuck Andre Brown, that broken leg piece of shit. He's going to come back in a few weeks. He's going to split carries with Peyton Hillis. He might end up scoring double-digit fantasy points in one game while he's riding Plotcher's bench or something like that. Honestly, who gives a good shit if I had fucking Andre Brown stashed on my team? Fuck him. In at number 2 on the power rankings of bullshit, the 3-man council. The Jedi Council, the 3 wise men. When there's turmoil in our league, who else would we look for guidance other than Bootsy, Ben, and Billy? All of their judgment is clouded, 2 of them by weed smoke and 1 by pure rage. This is an absurd development this year. It's never agreed upon through the proper channels. This group has been looked upon to solve, they haven't been looked upon to solve any legitimate problems, yet they see fit to sanction me. We all know this was a show of force. Just a chance to flex the muscles of a council that doesn't really need to exist. It was all just one big funny joke, and no one suffers except my fab budget. In at number 1, taking the number 1 spot on the power rankings of bullshit, John Cruisermobiles Krause. A few weeks ago, I joked that Krause was the league villain. That title is not really applicable anymore. Krause is now officially the league whistleblower. He dimed out on Deutsch during an inconsequential trade negotiation. He erroneously accused Ariel of committing auction fraud during Tradeapalooza, and now he's snitched on me for a roster malfunction. Similar to another famous whistleblower, Bradley Manning, I can only imagine Krause will be sentenced to 35 years in federal prison, and he can choose to now live out his days as a woman, Joanna Krause. All right, that does it for the power rankings of bullshit. Time to open up the old mailbag. Thought we'd actually get some more mailbag questions this year, what with recent developments, but did get one good one from Denneberg that we were all privy to. It goes, if league discussions were a pie chart of what would you do if you won $1 million, would actual football-related conversations be the donate it to charity slice? Why must we constantly make things more difficult than they need to be? I hate all the fucking changes and actually miss the days of Krause complaining every one time one of his players broke a fingernail. At least that had to do with the actual games. So, Denneberg, I'm not really sure I understand the first part of your question. I suppose what you're trying to say is that of the vast majority of options available to people who win $1 million, donating to charity is rarely, if ever, mentioned. In a similar fashion, of the vast majority of our conversations, none of them have to do with actual football conversation. Really, all we blather about is parliamentary procedure and arguing over rules. I actually would refute this. I think we discuss football a lot. It's not really ever in a positive light. It's sort of only when a player performs terribly, otherwise embarrasses himself or gets hurt. But at least we do discuss the performance on the field. I would agree that we probably do make things a little bit more difficult on ourselves, but I think that's sort of by design. We're all invested in this league financially and emotionally. We all strive for it to be bigger and better than any fantasy league in the land. So, really it's the rule changes and the arguing that keep us involved. If it were just about starting a good lineup and amassing points, we could let robots do it for us. You don't want a robot taking your job, do you, Denneberg? I didn't think so. All right, well, that's pretty much it for the podcast. Let me state in summary that the tone of this podcast obviously is a joke. I'm not really that pissed about it. It's a lost season for me, so it's not really that big of a deal. I didn't mean to abuse the rules. Honestly, I didn't think twice about putting Brown on the IR spot. I do mean what I say about making sure the website reflects our rules, but ultimately, of course, I accept the sanctions. I'll ensure I don't abuse the system in the future. Appreciate the leniency in that regard, as I know I would be upset if someone else did it. Looking forward to a big week, and actually, I'm going to go out and call that Andy Smith is going to pick up his first win this weekend. He's going to avoid a fruiting, as much as we may all want that. Also, I should mention, for Plotzker's sake, that the Chicago Fire can clinch a playoff spot with a win or a draw at New York in our season finale this Sunday. So if you're at a sports bar, tell them to flip on the TV to the Fire game at around 4 o'clock. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.